Welcome to Wrestling with Heart, a podcast looking at pro wrestlers giving back to their community. Join me, Stanley Carr, as I interview wrestling's hottest names who use their platforms as entertainers to raise awareness and do community service. Hello and welcome to another edition of Wrestling with Heart. This is the show where we talk with professional wrestlers and professional wrestling personalities about their lives in and outside of the ring, as well as doing acts of charity work, community service, volunteering, and just spreading positivity. We're always about the positive vibes here on the show. And I've got a very special guest with me this week. If you love the WWE's Ruthless Aggression era, in my opinion, probably one of the most underrated superstars and characters of all time. Former WWE Tag Team Champion, former OVW Heavyweight Champion. He's done it all. He's worked in a variety of different careers, and he's here to tell us his story. I am pleased to welcome the one, the only, Rico Costantino. Rico, welcome to Wrestling with Heart.
Thank you, Stan. I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, it's been a while
So are
since
my kids.
Yeah. It's this was an interview we had been working on for a while, and I'm so glad we finally get to do it. Rico,
Yep.
you've got a heck of a story. You really do. And we want to get into it. You're from Las Vegas, Nevada, Sin
Yep.
City, USA. Tell me
Yep.
about your upbringing and childhood.
Well, I was born here in 61, and it was very small then. And that's when the other people owned the town. Uh, it wasn't very big. Growing up, my dad was an entertainer. He appeared on the Ed Sullivan Show. He opened all the acts at the Desert Inn and Stardust. And me running around people like the Rat Pack and people like that, I mean, that was normal for me. I lived down the street from Red Fox.
Really?
So, yeah, Jimmy Durante was my brother's godfather, so my dad was a musician, famous musician. So I got, you know, brought special places and stuff like that. And uh, living in Vegas, I was a rather small kid. I was a late bloomer, and parents got divorced when I was sixth grade, seventh grade. Dad moved to California, and I stayed here with my mom, and she had to raise four kids. So me and my third brother moved with my dad, and they ended up going to Wisconsin. And my eighth grade year, I had to take summer school because I wasn't a good student. I have ADD or ADHD, whatever you want to call it. And focusing was hard for me back when I was a kid. So I did summer school in Wisconsin, and it was a military academy. And I went to summer school there, and when walking in and out, I saw all the medals, the ribbons, and everything you can obtain by doing certain things, because under each medal or ribbon stated what it was for and how you can achieve it. So that eighth grade year, I told my dad, I want to go here. I want to go to school here, at military school. So he put me in, and my first year, I got one medal, one ribbon, and one stripe. So I went back for my freshman year, and like I said, I was tiny. My freshman year, I was only 4'11", weighed 82 pounds.
Wow.
We carried the M1 Grand rifles in parades. The rifle was almost as tall as me. So I carried the banner with another short kid in front of the parades.
Goodness.
Yeah, so I was real tiny. Bullied, picked on. I went through that whole thing in public school. They even did it in military school. It was the big joke is the seniors would take all but three. Two would hold me, one would open the door, and they'd walk me down and throw me in the lake.
Oh, man.
So, not mean like, just you gotta pay your dues, kid. And there I'd go.
Yeah.
But it wasn't mean like like bullying now. But yeah, I went through all that.
More like rough housing.
Yeah, rough housing. My dad told a teacher in California told my dad I'd would never get higher than a C in school. He didn't like that. And jumping ahead, I spent 5 years in that military academy, and I graduated second in my class. Had an appointment to West Point, but I turned it down. And I was about 5'9", 126 pounds. So, but I had so many medals and ribbons. My dad called me a Mexican general.
Because you worked hard and you were determined to work as hard as you could to get more.
That kind of was the foundation of me doing everything else in my life, was that military academy. And that military school, you can see it in that Damien Omen 2 film. They filmed Damien Omen 2 at this academy, which is no longer there. They tore it down and put housing and lakefront housing. But yeah, but that is, Davison Hall was called Northwestern Military and Naval Academy.
Wow. Definitely not the traditional childhood that one would expect, but military school, that lifestyle, much like professional wrestling, is very, very tough. And
regimented, which I needed. Having ADD, I had to have structure.
Yes.
And you woke up, you did this, you did that, you did this, you did that, and then you went to bed at this time. School at this time, study hall at this time, whatever, sports, then, marching, drilling, whatever, but it was structured.
Yeah, well, structure is always important. And for you, it definitely helped you later on in your career, as you said a few minutes ago. Yeah. But was wrestling something you grew up watching? Was that something you watched as a kid?
Oh, yeah, it was Vern Gagne's league. AWA, Channel 5, Saturday morning, Rocky Johnson, Pat Patterson, the Cheek, all those guys. I grew up watching him.
Okay.
And they would come down here to the Showboat and throw wrestling shows. So, yeah, I grew up loving wrestling.
Who were your favorites?
Rocky. Yeah, until later on, in the 80s, I was a mark for the Warrior. That's kind of like my person. Yeah. That's kind of me inside. Him shaking the ropes and running. That's me inside.
I could definitely see that, because later on you kind of adapted that whole makeup and the costumes and everything. He definitely had all these different things that he would wear and gear, and so I could definitely see that as an inspiration.
But I had to change the makeup because I was trying to pair off Adrian Street.
Yes.
I didn't want to be confused with Jim at all.
It's an influence.
Yeah, it was.
It was an influence.
I'll tell you how bad or how good an influence was.
Okay.
Later on in life, I was bartending in Sandestin, Florida, and I was bartending in this club called Harry T's, a hotel.
Mm-hmm.
I used to put the Warrior paint, wear the Harry T shirt, and wear the strings around the arm as a bartender.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
How cool is that?
And I would pound my tip jar. Yeah. So I used to wear face paint to the work.
Oh,
and they loved it. Especially when spring break came. That's a spring break destination.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so I ripped them off then.
Did you ever get to meet him?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I met him in Arizona in his gym. And he let me take a picture with the yellow Intercontinental belt.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah. And then before that, I forgot, I just remembered. They came to Vegas, and my brother and my other brother and my late brother were Warrior Marks. And he was going to wrestle Hercules Hernandez here. Mm-hmm. And we were working out at the Golds. And as we were in there, in came Warrior, Animal, and Hawk, all those people. And I'm getting ready to leave. And I guess Jim missed his ride. He goes, "Hey, can you give me a ride?" Sure. So I drive him to his hotel. And I said, "What colors are you wearing tonight?" He goes, "Why?" I said, "Because we're coming." He goes, "Yellow and black." I said, "Okay." So my brothers and I did yellow and black face paint, bought an Eiferman's jersey, and had spray painted on the back Insane Warriors. And we went to the the match. And he was there. He saw us in the front row. I gave Virgil some shit, and he acted like he was coming over, and I act like I was coming over. But it was before I knew it was, really working, So, but yeah, we did that. So that was fun.
Yeah, so amazing. Well, before we talk about your wrestling days, you were on the American Gladiators show back in the
Mhm.
90s. How was
Mhm.
that? How did you get involved with that? And what was it like being on the program?
Well, I was working construction on the John Wayne Airport, and I twisted my knee in some rebar, and I was nursing a sore knee, and a commercial came on, and it was Gemini. All you contenders, are you ready for the ultimate challenge? Try out for American Gladiators. And I went, holy crap, he's talking to me. They were doing multi-city uh, um tryouts, and I went to the one in Universal Studios. You had to do 25 pull-ups in 30 seconds, a 40-yard dash in under so many seconds, a ladder race, touch the line, go back, a further line, go back, a one-on-one tug of war, pass or fail, a power ball. You had to be offense once, and then you got to be defense, and then an on-camera interview. But the pull-ups knocked everybody out right away. And it just so happened, I think it was Inside Edition or Inside Report was there. I was yelling, wearing yellow and black tiger stripe tights with a tank top, and they were following me around.
Oh
And
man.
then the producer came over. His name is Aton Keller. After I finished the contender tryouts, he brought me over to the gladiator tryouts. And he said, I want you to try out here. And I said, why? He goes, because we need 2 gladiators. And I was about 218 pounds then. So I said, okay. So I did the gladiator thing and did the interview. And Aton says, okay, we'll send you a letter and tell you which one you're going to be. I said, okay. So came back and it said they wanted me to be a contender. I said, okay. So it was at Universal Studios and Zonk's first year. Malibu and Titan got released. So that brought in Turbo and Thunder. And then you had the main 3, Nitro, Laser, and Gemini. So when I was training for it, I figured those 2 guys' newness will match my newness. Now I have to watch film on these guys to see what they're good at. So I watched film, and then I would run in the beach sand, 40-yard dashes. I'd climb baseball backstops to simulate the wall and stuff like that, and running up the hill, jogging down, running up a steep hill, jogging down, stuff like that, and regular workouts. And then I went, and there was a 2-day to get familiar with all the equipment. No gladiators, but you got to practice joust. They had a sergeant from Camp Pendleton come in and teach us how to do the pugil sticks. You got to climb the wall a few times. Definitely had to do the eliminator because that was the first year they had the hand bike. And so they let us try out for 2 days. And then in those 2-day tryouts, there were people in the stands and they were seeding the contenders. Who was 1, who was 2, who was 3, and then they shot the fall and spring at the same time. So it's a 10-hour day to film 1 show of Gladiators. Well, actually 2 shows, fall. So you get the fall comes up first, men, then the ladies, and then spring comes up, men, ladies, and then they change the event, and then fall goes, men, ladies, spring comes up, men, ladies, stuff like that. So I was helping all the other contenders, telling them how to do the hand bike, how to do this and do that. And I'm doing hang tough and I'm swinging around. And all of a sudden on the bullhorn, the producer, hey, Rico, come down here. Okay, so I jump down, I go talk to him. There's a bunch of people in the stands. And he says, why are you showing everybody how to do things? They want to know. And I said, well, because when I win, I don't want to be some trick or something that nobody knows. I want to beat them fair and square. And he turned around to that big old crowd and said, see, I told you. That's all he said. So I ended up coming out for the fall season, number one seed. So I got to choose my color, and I always chose red.
Wow. And you were champion too.
Yeah, I became champion. I went through John Adams, Nate Foster, Lincoln Simons, and then John Adams again. He came back through the loser bracket, and I had to face him again. And then I beat him there.
Yeah, you came out a winner. Look at you,
Yeah,
Rico.
it was so fun. The Gladiators were great, and uh, I have mad respect for them. And when I saw Muscles and Mayhem on what they did to those people, I am so glad I did not get picked as a gladiator because they treated them like garbage. No royalties, nothing. They got nothing. I
Wow.
made more as champion than they did. And it's my picture on the Red Challenger doll. It's me swinging on Hang Tough because you can see the little cross tattoo on my arm, my shoulder.
Well,
But
yeah.
yeah, and you get nothing for it. They didn't get anything.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's definitely a shame. But you came out on top. You were champion.
yeah,
That's an amazing feeling. Gotta be. So
it was.
you did the show.
Mhm.
When did wrestling kind of start making its way into the picture?
Oh, not I did the show at 28. Wrestling didn't come in the picture till 38, 10 years later.
Okay.
Yeah,
Well,
after that first year of Gladiator, since the whole thing was if you won, you get to come back as a gladiator. Well, the creator, John Ferraro, and myself did not get along. So I wasn't offered a position. So I had a championship belt made. And for that next year, after Gladiators, I worked with about 10 different children's charities: cystic fibrosis, muscular dystrophy, diabetes, Special Olympics. I was the DARE spokesman for the city of Fontana. I worked with the burn unit, so many charities, and I did it all free. I didn't charge them anything. All I said was, feed me. All you have to do is give me lunch. And I did that for a whole year.
wow, that's pretty cool.
And then Samuel Goldwyn found out. They called me one day and said, we heard you've been doing appearances as American Gladiator champion. I said, yeah, it's all charities. Well, we need to have the records because you went out in our name and you owe us 10% of whatever you made. And I went, oh, okay. She goes, well, when can you get those faxed over to us, the figures? I said, I can tell you right now. I said, what's 10% of nothing? And they go, what? I said, I didn't charge anybody. I did it all free. Click. There went the phone. But yeah, I couldn't believe that I got that phone call. And then I was hired by Universal Studios to be a character in the Conan the Barbarian show. I was Azura. And then at the same time, Batman came out, Michael Keaton Batman. And I got hired as Batman for Six Flags. So I was a stuntman. So I was doing Batman at Six Flags in the Conan show at Universal Studios. So I did that for a couple of years. And then I met John Jacobs with the Power Team. I became an ordained minister through Lawrence Kennedy, through the Church of the Rock North in Texas, Dallas, Texas. I got my ordination. And we used to go speak to all the schools and stuff like that. We used to do feats of strength to get their attention. So I did that for a couple of years. And then I got into bodyguarding, just executive personnel. And I traveled the world. I've met 4 different presidents of different countries, 2 in Africa. One of them was the president of Zambia, Duluba. I met the president of Nicaragua, Chamorro was a female, and I met the prime minister of Israel, Itzhak Rabin, before they assassinated him. And I did that, and then I came back. So we work with high diplomats. I did all that. So I came back into Florida. I got another bodyguard gig that kept me in the States. And then now we're coming up 1998. Okay. And my brother, my late brother, owned a bail bonds business here in Vegas. And I would come in and help him with spy cameras and stuff like that, fire people and stuff that were stealing from him or whatever. He had a big heart, knew bail bonds, but just didn't know how to manage. So I'd come in, and then in 1998, he asked me to come full time, but he couldn't pay me what I was getting paid as a bodyguard. But it's family, so you take care of your family. So I moved to Vegas in 98, early 98, and I got my license from the Nevada Division of Insurance, DOI, as a bail agent, which includes bounty hunting and writing bails and stuff like that, representative for the surety company and stuff like that. So I did that, and my brother on the side was going to Empire Wrestling Federation, run by Jesse Hernandez in San Bernardino. He was doing that anyway because he loved wrestling also. And then he says, "Hey, why don't you come with me?" I said, "I'm 38 years old. What am I going to wrestle for?" He goes, "It's fun. It's fun." And of course, he talked me into it. So I go to Jesse's, and it's after work. It's a 3-hour drive there, 3-hour workout, and a 3.5-hour drive back. So Jesse saw something in me, whatever it was, and he said he wants me to train. So I started training, and just in a few months, I became his heavyweight champion. And then a tape went up to Connecticut, and as I'm in the bail bonds office, I get a call from Howard Finkel. "Hey, you want to try out? Can you come to Connecticut for 10 days? Sure. I went up there, and Nicole Bass was there, Mark Henry, and a few others. And I did the 10-day tryout. Cornette was going to take over OVW. That was going to be one of the developmental territories. Cornette asked me if I'd go there. And I said, "Yeah, I'll go." And that was really tough because it's just a flat fee. They don't take taxes out. You're not an employee, you're an independent contractor. So I drove to Louisville and started with Danny Davis and became a sponge. I only had 12 matches, and I only been in the business 8 months, and I got a developmental deal.
Yeah, you
So
were
now I was OVW for almost a couple of years, year and change.
Yeah, you were there for a long time too. In fact, you were teaming with John Cena early on in his career. What was it like teaming with him?
Oh, he was great. He could talk though. Kenny Bolin. See, I was a face first. I came out as a face, and everybody loved me, and I was this and that. And then I was having a match with Flash, and he gave me. It was my move. It was a hip toss. I land on my feet and hip toss him. Well, the ring wasn't exactly flat. I hip tossed, and my right patella ruptured. I tore the quad right in the middle of the heavyweight match. So I got sent down. I got sent home, had put me back together. And while I was rehabbing, Kenny Bolin went to Cornette and said, "I want to bring Rico back as a heel." And Cornette laughed at Bolin, saying, "That's my top baby face. He's not going to be a heel." He goes, "Give me 6 weeks. He'll be a heel." And they made a deal. And so Cornette said, "You got 6 weeks. If not, he's coming back." And in 3 weeks, I was hated. And then I was with Bowling Services, and then John, I think was from California, he got contracted. Then he came up, and then they put us together. I was now not just Rico Costantino, I was Rico the role model, and he was my prototype. How everybody's supposed to be in Louisville. Oh, they hate that when you call Louisville Louisville.
Yeah. Gives you
So we
heat.
were, yeah, big heat. So yeah, so we had a good run. We were Southern Tag Team Champions. And then Brock came, Shelton Benjamin, the Minnesota stretching crew. And we got to wrestle as a dark match when they came to Louisville and the titles changed hands. So we were right there. It was a big, because everybody knew us in Louisville.
Mm-hmm.
And so Brock and Shelton stripped us of the titles in front of a WWE crowd. And then, I'm sure you know the story. I was going to be cut and just let go, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know that? And then I had to pay me for 90 days. Well, JR, Cornette, Danny Davis, Stone Cold said, hey, you have them for 90 days, bring them up and let them wrestle dark matches and see if you can think of something for them. So I did the 90 days, and I think it was Stephanie that thought I could be the manager for Billy and Chuck. And then one day I was home, I get a call. Okay, fly to Ottawa. What are we doing? Just get here. Keep in mind, I'm barely a wrestler. I'm green and wet behind each ear. So now I get there, and then they tell me I'm going to manage. How do you manage? I barely got this down. So Billy, and then I called Boland. Give me some tips, quick. Give me some tips. So, and then Billy Gunn said, don't worry about it. I got you. Just listen to me. I said, okay. And who's not going to be smart enough to listen to Billy Gunn, you know?
He's a veteran.
Mm-hmm. So the stylist, since I didn't have anything to be prepared with, I came out black on black, black shirt, black pants. And that's what Stevie Richards came out in after he finished Right to Censor. Mm-hmm. And about a few weeks before that, I was talking to Raven at a dark show, and he had, because one night I was a face, one night I was a heel, face. They kept throwing me here and there. Raven asked me, what do you like being, a heel or a face? I said, I like being a heel. He says, you got to do something about your face. I said, why? He goes, you're too pretty. Grow some sideburns. I said, okay, but he wanted me to have like the honky tonk Elvis sideburns. Mm-hmm. And, and so in the first video, you kind of see me growing it in, but then I started thinking, wait a minute, that's already been done. Rock's already had the other type. I said, I'm going for the Wolverine look. So my beard came in black, and that was all real, so I couldn't just take the sideburns off, walk around. I mean, it's my face.
It's real, so, it's nasty and rough looking.
Yeah. And when I got there, I said, what am I doing? I was, well, you're their stylist. Vince tells me. Stylist? What? Hairstylist? What stylist? What? He goes, flesh it out. You're their stylist. And waves me off. So the first week I go out there, and then I get home and I start really thinking about stylist. What can I do? This and that. What kind of stylist? This, that. And I'm in the tanning bed, the 30-minute one.
Yep.
And I'm going over my head. And I said, I know it. I'm going to be an image consultant to the tag team champions. That's what I'm going to be. Image consultant, their manager, tell them how to dress, take them to stuff. And then I called Godfather and I said, where did you get your clothes? And he told me, because he was fading out. And I went there and I bought the alligator, the snake skin, the tiger stripes. I did all YMLO. I put belly button rings in my ears. So if I had blue lens glasses, I had blue rings, blue shirt, alligator, black alligator, red shirt, red, black alligator. And then I went into tiger stripes. And then I started taking off with the character. I was getting heat just standing there, not doing nothing. Billy be wrestling and they're like, Rico sucks. I said, I'm not even in the match.
I mean, you're
Just like
doing your job.
I guess. So that's how that's how I got into WWE.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like you found your groove. You were the stylist for Billy and Chuck. They had you guys together, I believe, for 6 months before they put you a 3-minute warning.
I don't know how long it was. I know I won the world heavyweight title with Rikishi against my guys. So that's the first time I held the belt
How did
because
that
Vince was
happen?
trying to. Well, Vince was after Rikishi, right? So Rikishi's got a tag match with Billy and Chuck, and Vince announces me as the special guest partner to Rikishi. And then we try to screw Rikishi, and I end up super kicking, I think, Chuck, and then Rikishi super kicks me, and I land on Chuck. Referee counts 1, 2, 3, and now Rikishi and I are tag champions.
Wow.
Yep. So, and then Billy wanted to go singles. That's why we had the wedding, and that's when Rosie and Jamal jumped in. I jumped over to Raw with Bischoff, and that was the second longest monologue I ever did. The first one was when Chuck proposed to Billy, so I wasn't really on the mic a lot. So, but I had that wedding was just intricate. Every time I did something or said something, it set off a cue for something else. So I had to know my cues. So that was like trial by fire. And I'm standing next to Stephanie McMahon. So put the burner up a little higher. You're standing next to one of the bosses.
Yep. Yep. Well, the wrestling
So
weddings, definitely things can go wrong at any point.
yeah, if that had been on Raw, that'd have been the best kayfabe in the world history of wrestling. It was taped, so the dirt sheets got it and put it out there. But Vince had Eric come to the stadium all made up already. Everybody thought he was the old man minister. Nobody knew it was Bischoff except the people who were involved.
Really?
Yep.
Wow.
And when he said, wait a minute, did I hear myself 3 minutes? Say 3 minutes? I mean, everybody at once in the stadium went, oh, like that. It was like a vacuum. And then he started ripping off his face. That was the best thing. And I guess this is how I take it. I guess for doing a good job on that, I got to wrestle Ric Flair and go over on him on Monday Night Raw.
Wow. That's a true highlight of
Yep,
of your career right there.
yep. And then I was doing the gimmick, and we were heels first, but the fans turned me babyface. So they had to crush me on Raw. They brought me back to SmackDown. I wrestled Jamie Noble on Velocity, and it went over. So my first match on SmackDown was Charlie Haas,
I
and you know
remember.
what happened with that match? I
I
kissed him.
remember that. Yep. Yep. I tell you, before we did our interview, I watched that match to get myself in the mode. I remember that match like it was yesterday.
Yeah,
It
Charlie
was
played it so good as like the just, oh my God, this guy, I got to wrestle this guy. And then after that match, we went the next week. I think we're in Canada again, Ottawa. And Pat Patterson came up to me and he goes, you and Charlie need to team up. We got to put the belts on you tonight. And Scotty and Rikishi held the belts. So Charlie's a heel, I'm a face, and Rikishi and Scotty's a face. So how do we pull this off? So Pat Patterson agent the match, and we went out there, and I was Charlie's mystery partner. And then when I came out, he played it so, oh no, no, no. And I went to give him a hug and, you know, and it was kind of like that triangle. Jackie liked me, I like Charlie, Charlie liked Jackie,
yep.
you know. And for me to get him pissed off to wrestle better, I'd pinch him in the butt, squeeze his cheek, you know, tag up here, you know, just to get him torqued to do the match. But when it came down to it, all that flamboyant stuff went out the window, and then I got into my kicks, my real moves,
Yeah.
and and the audience loved it. They were putting us in semi-main events. Everybody wanted to do serious, 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 and the main event is supposed to be the main attraction. So they put me in, basically boils down to comic relief, you know, get the people loosened up for like Undertaker, JBL, Eddie Guerrero, stuff like that. So they would bring us in, and I'd always be semi-main events on a pay-per-view.
Yeah, you guys were definitely a highlight of that year. I loved seeing you guys as champions, and really, you mentioned it earlier in the show. The whole Rico character. A lot of it came from Exotic Adrian Street.
Yeah, I met with him.
You met with him? Okay, I was
Yeah,
about to ask you.
yeah, when 3 Minute Warning was going to dissolve and Rosie went to become superhero in training, Hunter came to me and said, "Listen, Vince wants you to do this Adrian Street type character." I said, "Well, is he still alive?" "Yeah." I said, "Well, I have to ask him." So they flew me down to Gulf Breeze. I met with Adrian and his wife. He told me how he did the character in the 70s. And I said, "Well, I got to bring the character up to the millennium, into the 2000s. I couldn't do a character like that now. I
No.
get shot." So for him giving me permission to do his character, he had a wrestling outfit. He used to make wrestling outfits called Skull Crushers, and I bought all my stuff from him for a year. And then they were going to give me Melina from ECW, and I told Stephanie I need Jackie Gata because she was already on her way back down because of that horrible Raw match. And I insisted on Jackie, so Stephanie said she'll never wrestle. I said I don't need her to wrestle, just need her to dote on me to give the, you know, what is that word I'm looking for? I don't know. The difference between the character. Is he or is he not? Gay. They didn't know. And I wanted to keep that dichotomy. You're always guessing. You're starting out, wait, is he doing it to throw the people off? Or is he doing it because he's like this? Or what's up? So they brought Jackie up. And then later, as the character developed, she would practice in the ring, before shows and stuff like that. And then she got to wrestle. Did bras and panties with Trish Stratus. And then her and I tagged against Stratus and Jericho. She did WrestleMania 20 with the evening gown or whatever that was. So I didn't even do a WrestleMania.
Yeah.
But Jackie got to. So that's good.
You guys had so much potential, and you guys really made it work together. And the fact that you guys were champions, people still talk about it to this day. It's got to feel good.
Pat Patterson. That was Pat Patterson. They already had Rikishi and Scotty's match, and Pat went there and changed it to Charlie and I.
Yeah.
And, that's how much Pat believed in this would work.
What happened? You got released by WWE in 2004. You guys had so much momentum going. What happened?
Well, I asked for a raise. That's my version of it. We were going to be on the cover of the next magazine. And I got told that, "Oh, you're not over anymore," by Johnny Ace. "Now your character's dwindling out. We're just going to release you." And I went, "Okay." So right when they did that in November, I still had 90 days. So I was still contracted till 2005.
Oh, okay.
And All Japan contacted me, found out I got released, and wanted me to go there. I said, "Well, I can't until this contract's up." And they go, "Well, no, come now. We don't honor those." I said, "I honor the contract. This is what I signed, and I'm honoring it. I'm not going to break it." The day after, I gave Vince a chance. All I wanted was $1,000 a week extra. That's all I wanted. Because I did a 3-year contract with that old pay. Well, here I held the belts twice. We're over. I didn't think it was too much to ask. But I guess he did. So he released me. So on February 2nd, after the contract was done, I went to All Japan, and the first night, Bull Buchanan and I won the All Asian tag titles. We were the first round eyes to do it.
That's cool.
I did that 3 weeks, and then I had to think. I'm 44. And I was married at the time. I said, do I want to spend 3 weeks a month in Japan wrestling at 44? And then I finally said, no. So I gave back the belt, and then I went into police academy. Started in March and graduated July. Was hired by the state as an officer, investigator. And then 4 months down the line, I was hired by the U.S. Marshals. So I did state full time, and I was hired by the U.S. Marshals as a district security officer. It's off-duty officers assisting the marshals, but when you're with them, you fly under the federal. So I would transport prisoners, book prisoners, do basically bailiff in the court, sentencing of prisoners, moving prisoners around, stuff like that with the U.S. Marshals.
I'd imagine that's a hard job.
When you were a cop 15 years, that, you just know it. And when I came back, because I was a cop when I was 23, so I was 24, 25, 26. I was a North Las Vegas police officer. I graduated #1 in the state in the academy.
So you had experience before.
Yep.
Okay.
But so much time went by, I had to go to another academy and get another certificate, and I graduated #1 in that academy.
Wow.
So, and then I got sick in 2016. All of a sudden, I had 2 blood clots, one in each lung. Don't know where it came from. And for 2016 to 2019, I was almost dead several times. The lungs, the blood clots turned into migraines. Then I got vertigo, and I thought I wouldn't wake up one morning. I was on all this medication. I ballooned up to 272 pounds, a bad way. And then a friend of mine who I knew came, he was in town and got in touch with me. And he says, hey, what's going on? I told him what was happening. He says, I need to talk to you. And we ended up doing a job together, quick job. And he told me about being a vegan. And from that point, I switched. And I lost, I was 272, and I went down to like 204 in 60 days.
Ooh.
Yeah. And I got on that regiment. Then I started walking. Then I started jogging. Then I got back in the gym. And then all of a sudden, wham, now, then I was great until September 28th, 22. I got a work injury accident. I tried to exit my car chasing a suspect, and the steering wheel caught me in the hip. It fractured my ball on the hip socket and tore my hip flexor. Since it was work related, workman's comp was denying me. So I worked with a fractured hip and a torn hip flexor for 16 months. I just had full hip replacement surgery on January 2nd, full hip replacement. I have a plastic cap, porcelain ball, and titanium down my femur. And they said I'd be out 8 to 12 weeks. I came back to work 4 weeks and 2 days, and I've been working ever since. And then I started the gym. I can only do my upper half. Physical therapy has to do my lower half because it's a workman's comp case. So that's where I was, and that's why had to start a little late.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that you were able to bounce back through all that is a testament to you and your heart, and the fact that you had so many influences in your life that really pulled for you and you're able to still be here today is just wonderful.
I always give back. If you don't give back and you just take, you're nothing more than a sponge. You have to give back. And I've had this mantra my whole life, and it goes like this: it's what your mind can conceive, your heart can achieve. That's my secret.
Yeah, it's very well put. You had touched on the charities that you were working with earlier.
Mhm.
Was there a particular charity that you enjoyed working with the most? Any memories
Oh
that
yeah,
just really, what were some of those?
Special Olympics,
Special Olympics?
the track and field. I remember I was just maybe a few months into where I could say I was champion. The Orange County Register put me on the front page, color photo, did a whole write up on me of how I became champion because American Gladiators was huge. After the first season, when the second season hit, everybody was watching it. So I'm here at this track and field where I think we're in Santa Ana and the Special Olympic kids. And I show up in the outfit with my black champion black champion belt. And this one young man kept wanting, I let him hold the belt, but he wanted it, and I said, wait a minute. I'll tell you what, at the end, you and I'll have 100-yard dash. And if you win, you get to hold the belt and take pictures with your friends. And his eyes wide. And he went around telling everybody. Well, one of the coordinators came up to me and says, so and so is saying that you're going. I said, yeah. I said, set it up. After everything's done, set up this 100-yard dash. And she goes, okay. So, and now everybody's lining the field. I mean, he's on one side, and then we start bang. So I start off running, and I get ahead of him, and then I let him get ahead of me, and then they're going, and I get ahead of him, and then he gets ahead of me, and I get ahead of him, and the crowd's going nuts, and I go, and then all of a sudden, and then he gets ahead of me, and he wins. And the Orange County Register caught a picture of me raising his hand, and him just, his face tells it all. And I gave him the belt, and he went around because in Special Olympics, everybody gets a hug. And he went around and he was king for a day, you know. And just to sit back and watch him with all his teammates and friends and family, families didn't have a dry eye. I didn't have a dry eye. It just sat back and just watched the elation and the jubilation in this child was just awesome.
Yeah, just like a tear jerking moment.
It was. I can't. Orange County put it on the front page. So
very heartwarming.
yeah.
Rico, I gotta ask this question. I know you've been out of wrestling for many years. Do you keep up at all with the current product? Not at all.
No. I'm right now. I'm retired medically from law enforcement. I work for an insurance company called Bell United, and basically I do the same thing as a cop does, except I don't write tickets and I don't make arrests. I do accident investigation, loss prevention, loss recovery of stolen vehicles, the way they drive. So I don't give tickets, but if they're driving erratic in any one of the companies we insure, I write a report and then the management handles that. And right now I've got 4 independent limo companies, house limos for Caesar's Palace, Flamingo, Mirage, Venetian, Palazzo. I'm forgetting 1 or 2. 2 cab companies, Whittlesey Henderson, and 2 tow truck companies. And I work 12-hour shifts, 4 days a week.
Wow, you're a busy guy.
ADD, bro. You put it to use. And
Yeah.
I like working the nights. So I'm either 4 p.m. or 5 p.m. to the 4 or 5 a.m. I work the overnights.
It's not bad though,
No.
Make sure that people are staying out of trouble.
Yep. And you help people there too.
Yeah.
I'm more like a coach. Like if I catch the driver do something, I'll just sit him down, talk to him, and say, okay, this one's between you and me. Don't do it again. So I have a rule. Three. It's like strike three rule. You
Yeah.
ask somebody, then you tell somebody, then you make somebody.
I like that.
That's it.
I
But
like that.
you gotta have the three F's in that. You have to go by the three F's: firm, fair, friendly. Because you're not these people's parents. You know, firm, fair, friendly. With ask, tell, make.
Yeah.
Works out great.
Yeah. I mean, even now, as we're talking, I see that you're very passionate about helping people to this
Oh yeah.
day. To this day, you mentioned it a minute ago about giving back. Why do you feel passionate?
Because I've been given so much. God has been great to me. And, yeah, you have your downs, but how do you respect your ups if you don't have the downs? If you're always up here, you don't appreciate it. I've had as people have had people ask me, would you change anything in your life? No. Not even the bad things? No. How do you think I got where I'm at? I learned from the bad things how to do the good things. So, no, even this accident, 16 months working on a fractured hip and a torn muscle, 12-hour days, but I wasn't going to let workman's comp beat me. I could have went and did it on my own insurance, but that's what workman's comp's for. It's on the work injury. And I had a witness sitting next to me when I got injured. So it wasn't me making up the story. So I held out and they finally lost and they had to do my surgery. It's what's right's right. And you say help people. When I when I when I came back to Vegas 18, I was a bus boy and I started in one of the hotels, then did Carl's Jr. flipping burgers, and then I got into EMT paramedics, and I was an EMT first in the 80s, and then I said, well, I'm going to go for the fire department. So I went out for the fire department. I did all their tests and whizzed it, and here I am, 218 pounds, blowing through their physical. And then I go to the last person and he goes, oh, you don't qualify. I said, what do you mean you don't qualify? And he had the BMI chart, the body mass index.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And it says I was supposed to weigh 176 pounds. Here I am, 218 with a 32-inch waist. And you don't want me as a fireman? Yeah. So I actually wanted to be a fireman, paramedic fireman, but they wouldn't take me. So I went into law enforcement.
But you still pulled through. You still made it. You're here to tell
Oh yeah.
your stories. Rico, this is amazing. You've lived.
I forgot so much. Even on other podcasts, if somebody asks a certain question, all of a sudden I'll remember a story. I'll remember what I did. I mean, I've forgotten more, plus I'm 62, you know, uh, not that my mind's going bad, but 62 years is a long time to remember,
It is, and
especially with what I've done.
yeah, and you've had a lot of experiences, and it's really amazing to have you on this podcast to share them with me and the listeners. And I just want to say thank you for coming on here.
My pleasure. My pleasure.
Yes,
We've been trying to do this a long time.
we have, and I'm so glad we made it work.
Yeah. So am
Rico,
I.
where can people find you on social media, or if they want to get in touch with you about
There's
anything?
a, there's a gentleman named Terry Jong in South Korea. He runs the Rico Costantino appreciation page. And I'm the one that answers all the questions. So I get it. When I get questions, I get on the page and I answer people back myself. Terry doesn't answer. He just manages the page, puts stuff on it like podcasts or photos or whatever. He just manages the page. He does a great job. So shout out to Terry in South Korea. And that's the way you can get a hold of me. Just write a question on there, and when I get it, I'll write back. I
All
still
right.
have people sending me, baseball card stuff or photos to sign. If you send a self-addressed envelope, I'll sign it and send it right back to you for free.
That's amazing. That's great. You gotta do the convention circuit sometime. Love to meet in
Um,
person.
I was just going to say that I have 3 promoters now asking me to do some conventions.
Oh,
Well, one, I want to get back in my shape a little bit, and two, I can't do anything until workman's comp releases me. So I was supposed to go March 16 and 17 to a convention. So, I mean, I'm very humbled by this, is that I've been gone since 2005 and people still remember this character, both characters. It's just, I mean, I'm blessed that people still remember the Ricos, the stylist and the Rico flamboyant.
yeah.
You know, I had such fun. And, I don't miss the tables. I don't miss the chairs. I don't miss the traveling. I don't miss all that hotels. But what I do miss is the fans. Because I used to go out after every show, house or taping, and I'd sign as many autographs that were there, take as many photos, because I like being with them. And some of the ideas I got for the Rico character came from fans.
Really?
Yeah.
Which ones?
Oh, I don't know who, but I'd always have a little notebook, and a fan would come up to me and go, "You know what would be funny?" And I go, "What?" And he'd tell me. And then I'd write it down. And then when I got home for my days off, I'd read them over. And I'd say, okay. And then I'd lay in the tanning bed and go, okay, where can I put this move? Well, okay, let's try it like this. Let's try it like that. And then I'd go back and I'd ask either Pat, Fit Finley, Chris Benoit, or Jericho, where do you think this would fit? And they'd tell me. And then I'd put it in. And one of the best compliments I ever got from a fan is he told me, he goes, "You know why I like watching you, Rico?" I said, "Tell me." He goes, "Because I don't know what you're going to do from week to week." And that's what you want to do. Make it fresh. Every
Yes.
week, do something different.
Unpredictable.
Yep.
Oh man.
What's he going to do this week?
Mm-hmm.
So
I
I,
love it.
I do miss the fan base. I miss talking to the fans. That's why I want to go do conventions. I
Yes.
really want to hear them, get back in touch with them. And, but the letters they write me when I sign stuff and send them back, they just tell me how this character was and they appreciate it and how it made them laugh, you know. And if I could do that for somebody's day, you know, entertain.
I love to hear that. Rico, thanks again, and you're more than welcome to come back.
You just asked, Stanley. I'll come back anytime.
All right. Take care.
Okay, the kids say goodbye too. These are real fish. It's not a screen.
Oh, wow, really?
These are real. Whoops.
Okay.
Look. Oh, let me see. Yeah, these guys are real.
Nice.
There comes the 3 amigos. Those are the blue ones. The big silver dollar one, that's his partner. There's 2 bits. And this guy's called Knucklehead because he's got a bump on his head. Yeah, they got personality. They love being on camera. See this?
That's awesome. Yeah.
They love being on camera.
That's great.
Yeah.
How long have you had them for?
These guys,
Yeah.
4 or 5 years.
Okay.
Yep. I had a tank of Oscars and I had them 8 years.
Oh, nice.
8+. I grew them from this big. They were bigger than my hand. They were huge, but
Yeah.
so no, I didn't have sushi. I put them in a proper burial.
Nice. Okay. All
Um,
right.
so thank you, Stanley. Thank you to your listeners. Tell Stanley what you thought of the interview. I want to hear some comments.
Yes, please Put your comments below in the in the description box. Leave your comments below, and we'll get Rico on again in the future.
I'd be honored, Stan.
All right, take care. This is Wrestling with Heart. I hope you found this podcast to be informative and entertaining. If you did, please hit the subscribe button and look out for the next edition.